What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Fargo Season 3, Episode 1, The Law of Vacant Places. Finally got to sit down and watch it. Finally got to enjoy it. I'm excited for this season. Mainly because there's a lot going on that seems like it could be taken a lot of different places. On top of that, it is set between, I believe, the first season and the second season. So I don't know how much of it is going to sort of play into those first two seasons. It kind of makes me wish that I had time to sort of sit down and rewatch the first and second season, so I can, if something comes up from one of those seasons, I can be like, oh yeah, I remember that, or oh yeah, they're talking about that, they're explaining what happened there. Um, but all in all, I mean, very good setup in the first episode, and this is generally what we get for pretty much all of the Fargo shows, uh, shows seasons. We get sort of a build up to what this season has in store for us. So we get an introduction of all the characters. We got Emmett and Ray Stussy, both played by Ewan McGregor. Very excited because he's a good actor. I mean, he was the only good, well, one of the few good things about the Star Wars prequels. And you got a few other really good actors. The girl that's playing Ray's girlfriend, I was like, she looks familiar. Where have I seen her? I looked it up. She was Ramona from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and she was also the girl from the only Final Destination movie that's seen, Final Destination 3. So, very interesting choice there. She did a pretty good job in this first episode as kind of being that crazy out there girl that this parole officer, Ray, falls in love with. And where'd you meet her? Oh, work. And they're just showing like how they met and stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of fun getting to see them, sort of seeing the two differing sides of the brothers. You've got Emmett, who has everything in order, he's got his life straight, and then you've got Ray, who just doesn't have anything in order. Trying to figure himself out, making mistakes left and right, and you can kind of see where Ray feels like he was wronged because I guess whenever their dad died, they split up. He got the house and he got the car, and so I guess the house came with all the possessions, or no, maybe not the house. I think it sounded like they were saying steps, so I assumed it meant house. But I guess now that I think about it, they were probably saying stamps, just not very well. um, so if they were saying stamps, obviously those stamps were worth a lot of money, and there's even one framed in Emmett's office. So I'm assuming that those stamps probably provided the big house, all the stuff that he has. And I guess Ray wanted the car instead of the stamps, maybe because he didn't realize how valuable the stamps were. Um, but you can see how as they've grown up, they've sort of taken two completely different tracks of life. And Ray obviously resents his brother because of that. So he hires this guy named Maurice to go and steal the stamp, but Maurice is not the best person to ask to go do something like that. So he has a piece of paper that explains everything, loses the piece of paper in the snow, and so he's like, oh no, I remember it. And then he goes to a different place than he's supposed to, finds a different Stussy in the old man that I'm it seemed like maybe they were related, he and then the cop lady and her son, but based on her reaction, I don't think they were. I think it was more like he's somebody that she was like caring for. Now, I don't know if that's true. I assume going forward we'll find out how they're related, if at all. But at first it seemed like, oh yeah, that's her father probably. But then as they started talking, and then as she started talking to her son about him, it sounded more like he's just an old man in the community that she's decided to help out, because he's kind of old and senile. So Maurice ends up going to his house because he's the only Stussy in Eden Valley, and so he gets there, and we don't even get to see exactly what happened. All I see is that he was tied to a chair, and then the freezer was left open. So I don't know if I'm supposed to know how he died yet, or if we'll get to see it later. Because honestly, one of the things that kind of excites me about the first episode of Fargo is generally we get to see some crazy stuff happening. Like season one, the very first episode, we saw a shotgun to the cop, to the main cop. We saw Lester strangling his wife. Um, Second season, we got that diner scene where that one guy went on a rampage and killed like 3 or 4 people, and then went outside and got hit by a car. And then this one wasn't as crazy. You know, we have the guy, the old man's dead because Maurice killed him somehow. We didn't even get to see that part. And then, of course, Maurice at the end getting crushed by air conditioning unit was enjoyable, but not nearly as like intense or exciting as those first 2 seasons and how they opened. So it was a little bit different there, and I'm hoping we do get to see what happened in the house. You know, how did Maurice? Obviously, you can kind of assume how Maurice probably tied up the old man because he was old and didn't seem very mobile. So I'm assuming that he somehow subdued him onto the chair, but I do have to wonder, you know, what did he do after that? You know, was he just ransacking the house and something he did just kind of left the old man exposed to something? Or, you know, how did he die? What happened? I do kind of want to see what did happen, but I don't know if they're going to show us or not. But ultimately, the cop lady shows back up because her son left his little carving from the old man in his house. So they head back. She finds him dead. She's going through the house, and it's just kind of like a little bit of intensity. Like, is he still going to be in there? They're going to have to fight. But he's already left. So she searches through the old house, calls in the kid's dad, who I don't know how much of a character he's going to be. Apparently, they divorced because he's gay, and so he has a boyfriend, possible fiance. I don't know if they're going to get married or not. But I'm kind of concerned just because whenever TV shows tend to have a homosexual character, they tend to play up that part, not for laughs or for anything else, more for, oh, look, we support this, guys, and it takes a lot of focus away from the rest of the story. So I hope they don't do that. I hope they just kind of keep it as, oh yeah, he's just gay. That's how it is. You know, that's just part of his character. You don't have to focus on it that much. It depends. I don't think they'll do that just because generally the writers of Fargo have been very good about keeping the focus where it should be. So maybe that'll just be something that, you know, maybe they'll make a joke at it. They kind of did make a joke out of the old man's, like, apparently he's one of those hyper Christians. It's just like, oh, that's not what it says in the Bible, and you know, they did kind of make a joke out of that. So, you know, just kind of thrown in there, I guess. Then, after all of that's said and done, Maurice, we see him head back to Ray's place, or Ray's girlfriend's place. And so he's talking to them, and he's just like, I hope you weren't really close with your brother. Doesn't even realize that it wasn't his brother after all. And Ray's, of course, just like, I said Eden Prairie, not Eden Valley. And so Maurice just keeps talking, and then Ray threatens him, and he comes up with a gun pointed at Ray. And so then, you know, it's a very bizarre scene. I don't really even know how to qualify it, because it seemed kind of pointless in the end. Like, Ray's girlfriend stands up in the tub, and she's asking for a towel, and so Maurice is going to give her a towel, and she's like, Ray, the gun. And so Ray goes to grab the gun, and ultimately that leads to nothing. So I don't really know what that was. I don't know what that scene meant. But ultimately, Maurice just threatens him with the gun, and then says, you better have my money by tomorrow, and then leaves. And then, of course, you know, at that point, that's when we get the scene with the air conditioning unit, which was really, as soon as she's like, alright, so 3 seconds down the stairs, 8, 9, and starts counting, I'm like, what's going on? And all of a sudden she takes a screwdriver, and like, she's gonna stab him? And then goes over to the air conditioning unit and starts like pulling at it, and I'm like, oh no. And then of course she's still counting as he's heading down the stairs, and I find it kind of interesting that she even accounted for the fact that he stopped with a cigarette, and I assume she knew to stop. She knew when he would stop at the little duct tape section of the staircase, you know, like cutting his hand on the broken part of the staircase or whatever. But I don't know, the smoking part seemed like it was pretty random. But anyway, she asked Ray to look out the window. Is he out there? He's looking, and he walks out. He's like, he's there. So they're pushing, and then eventually he kicks it out, and so falls. Hits him, splatters his brain all over the concrete, and then she calls the police and pretends to find the body. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of where it goes from here, because one, they'll probably be able to find out, I'm assuming this guy left fingerprints, inside of Ennis's apartment, the old man. So I'm assuming they'll be able to find out, oh, so this is the guy that robbed him. They'll find out that he stole some stamps. They'll see probably a footprint on the air conditioning unit, so they'll be like, wait a minute, why is there a footprint on it if it just fell out? Um, so yeah, it'll be very interesting to see kind of where the story goes from here. It was mainly story building for this episode, but I know because the first two seasons did this, generally the first episode is not where everything gets going. It's normally the fourth or fifth one where they built up the story, they built up these characters, and they got them sort of figured out what they're going to do and how they're going to handle each other. And then by the fourth or fifth episode, there's a moment where it's like, okay, this is where the story gets going. This is where people start dying. This is where there's actually a fight going on, generally between like one of the main characters and one of the other, I guess, evil characters. But I don't know who's going to be what. I assume we'll start to figure out as the season goes along. I kind of figure it's going to be brother versus brother type thing, where Ray's going to try to take down Emmett, and Emmett's going to fight back, and there are going to be people caught in the middle of it. But that being said, it does kind of make me feel like it's not, neither of them really have henchmen, so who's going to die for who? Is there going to be some sort of criminal family or criminal mob that we're going to have to go up against? I don't know. But yeah, it's a very interesting setup for the story, and I hope from here we start to see where the season's going to go. But I'm looking forward to it because I know that they know what they're doing. They know how to bring us a really good story, a very interesting story. So I believe we're going to find out where this is going in the next couple episodes, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know, we can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Fargo reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.